teaching people about manners and etiquette.
Thank you. A very warm welcome to all our listeners. It's a true joy and a pleasure to have this opportunity and this privilege to work with Dr. Jacalyn. And as Dr. Jacalyn said, we've had the privilege and opportunity to engage in at least half a dozen shows now. And here at the British School of Etiquette, we were very much founded on bringing people together, bringing cultures together, and learning from one another. This organization is not really based on so-called old school British etiquette. The name drew and draws people to the brand name. As an organization, we've always been very, very focused on the power of etiquette and manners, as in the title of today's show. And when I talk about the power of etiquette and manners, I bring in there 150% emotional intelligence, the power of our EQ, our emotional intelligence, our situational awareness, our spiritual intelligence, and how we can make huge changes in our life. So here at the British School of Etiquette, we adopt a very different view on coaching our students. We bring in the inspirational, we bring in the motivational, we bring in hardcore tools and principles that people can implement immediately to take their life forward. We have a strapline which is very much literally goes along the lines of building confidence, changing lives. And that is exactly what we do here at the organization, starting as young as six-year-old, joining our Etiquette program, moving up the tier to our mindset and manners for teenagers, really helping them and giving them that confidence, that ability to make that shift and change in their lives, especially under the current conditions and circumstances that we've all been faced with over the last 2 years. Mindset and manners moving into mindset and motivation, and then mindset and money for our teenagers. Then jumping from there into the polished graduate, so giving students the tools to really live and learn the importance and power of etiquette and manners and their emotional intelligence when they go on to university, when they leave university and head off to their first job opportunity. We then move forward into the polished professional. Again, this is very much focusing on individuals and people who want to better themselves, who want to find a way to just really connect with themselves, with their partners, but also really build and grow their business. And then as Dr. Jacalyn shared with all of you, I've got my wonderful friend and business partner who's going to be joining us shortly, who heads up our emotional intelligence faculty, along with some other areas of the organization, as in personal development, growing yourself as an individual and helping yourself, your relationship, whether it be with your spouse or whether it be people within your own organization. Our relationships, and I think this is really the power of etiquette, manners, and EQ. It's building our platform to have better relationships, therefore having a better life, much better life for ourselves in health, body, and in mind.
Thank you so much, Philip. I really appreciate that. Before we bring Richard out, just another question I have for you, which is obviously through this pandemic, we've become much more able to interact with people from all over the world. And this is a global platform. And obviously you're there in the UK and I'm here in the US. Why is it so important that we understand etiquette and manners of other cultures?
Oh, great question. Just to start off with, I personally believe when we make an effort to understand other people's cultures, we form a far more dynamic bond and trust and respect with a person from a different country. When we genuinely show interest, when we genuinely make the effort to research a little bit about their background, a little bit about their country, what to expect, what not to do. You know, etiquette's about navigation. We navigate our ways through life. And, you know, a lot of people look at etiquette and manners, oh, it's for the posh people or something along those lines. Actually, etiquette and manners are there so we don't bump into each other. So they are like those traffic lights in society. So, for example, Dr. Jacalyn, if you and I went and did the show, let's say in the United UAE, for example, we would have to understand the rules of engagement when we went into the Arab community and into the UAE. And we would have to, you know, put our best foot forward. And by doing that, we are showing huge respect for another nation and another country. And I could go really long and deep into this. But on a lot of our programs, we talk about international etiquette and how you can really utilize your knowledge and your research to form better relationships, form better partnerships and understanding.
Thank you. That really sums it up. And I know that we could go a lot deeper, which we will on a further show. But let's bring out your guest. If you would like to introduce Richard, I think that'd be fantastic.
what a great opportunity. Right, all you amazing listeners out there, Richard and I go back a long way. We were at boarding school together back in Africa, and slightly a few years apart from one another, but we maintained a friendship. And as the years have gone past and by, we've kept in touch. And it was about 4.5 years ago we reconnected when I was out in South Africa engaging with some schools. And we started to explore some thoughts and ideas. Richard had spent a huge amount of time in business development for organizations, coaching, leadership, change management, sales. And Richard, who will share some part of his journey with you, was very focused on his emotional intelligence journey. And we planted the seed and we left it there. And about just over 2.5 years ago, Richard joined the organization as the director and the lead to the British School of Etiquette EQ faculty and department, as well as obviously engaging in other areas of sort of courses that we run, such as shift high performance selling, time management programs, giving people the tools to sort of put their best foot forward in personal coaching and development and relationships. But Richard's really on here today to explore and for us to engage on emotional intelligence. Richard's journey has been fascinating. He is a gentleman who has always done the research and implemented everything, and he teaches into his life because he's had to make some very drastic changes in his life to move forward. And on that note, as I said, he is a gentleman, and in my opinion, I've had the privilege of engaging in many various publications. Richard is a true 150% authentic individual when it comes to EQ. But for me, I reckon, and I'm being biased here, is possibly the market leader when it comes to emotional intelligence. And I'm telling you that because I've just read the feedback and the reviews from past students. And I wish we had some of them to be our advocate. But, again, one can go to our website, one can go onto coursecheck.com and actually review what people are saying about these EQ programs that are being delivered through our organization. They are life-changing in business, personal, and friendships and relationships. So that's my introduction on Richard.
It's a pretty darn good introduction. So, let's bring Richard. I see he's laughing. Welcome to the program, Richard Cullinan.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jacalyn, and thank you so much for having me on your show. And Phil, thank you so much for that tremendous introduction. I just hope I can live up to it.
Richard, where are you joining us from today? Just let our audience know.
I'm based in Johannesburg, South Africa.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And so my question for you is, and I know this is a huge topic, and I just want to let our audience know this is going to be part 1 of 2 parts. Richard's going to come back. And if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and put them in wherever you're watching social media, because Richard is more than happy to take your questions. But Richard, what is emotional intelligence and why should we care?
Okay, so emotional intelligence is having the consciousness, the awareness of your thoughts, emotions, and behavior. And it's also being able to read the thoughts, emotions, and behavior of others. Why should we care about emotional intelligence? Well, firstly, there's very good news. Unlike IQ, EQ is something that can be developed over time with practice and learning and coaching. And that's really the good news. The other reason why we really need to take note of our emotional intelligence, particularly in the workplace, 60% of whatever we do in the workplace is determined by your emotional intelligence, because essentially you are selling ideas, you're communicating, and you're creating relationships. If we want to develop strong and healthy relationships, we need to first develop our own emotional intelligence and then be the lead or the example for others around us to follow.
Thank you, Richard. That makes a lot of sense. It brings a lot of awareness to it. And what is it about this topic that is so important to you?
Okay, so Phil alluded to that in the introduction, and I wasn't really prepared to share this, but I'm very willing to. We talk about authenticity and how authenticity in leadership is a crucial characteristic to carry through. About 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with adult ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. And this made me prone to not having great impulse control. I used to get angry quite quickly. And there are a number of other symptoms that I could talk about, but I think more impulse control and anger management, those two particular things were tripping me up in my life, and particularly in my personal life. So about 3 years ago, I decided that my relationships were in peril. I was not achieving what I was capable of achieving in my life. And I wanted to achieve my goals, and I wanted to fulfill my purpose. So I decided that taking a journey into emotional intelligence would give me the answers. And it was through a lot of faith that I believed that. And I was very fortunate, actually, to discover all the answers I needed to change my personal life, improve my relationships, and get out of the way long enough to achieve my goals. So it is a very personal subject to me. The beautiful part about it is when I teach emotional intelligence, I'm talking from a position of real understanding, real application. Now, emotional intelligence is not just something that you read about. It is also something that you practice with reflection and continuous practice over a fairly long period of time before you really start seeing the results in your life.
Richard, I really appreciate your transparency and authenticity. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Philip, what did you feel as Richard was sharing?
Yeah, it always, this is something that we here at the organization, Jacalyn, you've seen me in this light as well. It's about authenticity, and it's about we genuinely deliver from here. We get very emotional, we get very attached to the people that walk through the door, and we live for what we do, and that is it. We have a purpose, we have a why, we have a vision, and that is to make as many changes for people in this world as possible. And I've seen it. I've seen Richard transition. I've taken on so much over my journey with EQ. EQ has supported me and helped me exponentially, and it's an area of my life that I know that if I hadn't have, I think I've always had, fortunately, a reasonable amount of EQ to give or take, but we all trip ourselves up, and we can always keep polishing and working on ourselves. And again, through sitting in on what Richard shares with his students, and we've run many webinars together, I've always got a pen and paper, and I'm just learning and absorbing and just really just taking every single thing that has been shared and implementing what I can into my life. And it's made huge changes. Huge.
Thank you, Philip. Gentlemen, I'd like to ask you, how does one get started? Let's say you're 58 years old. You're me. How would I get started on this journey?
Yeah, well, that's a really good point. I only got started on this journey 3 years ago, and I'm 55 years old. And it's like I have a completely new lease on life. I've had students in my class in their 50s, in their 40s, in their 30s. I've just recently had a group with two 17-year-olds. So emotional intelligence, the sooner you learn about it and the sooner you can implement emotional intelligence in your life, the better. But the beautiful thing is you can pick it up later on in life, and you can have a major impact, particularly on your relationships, whether they be personal or work relationships. That's really where the major benefit is. Also, the feeling of self-confidence that comes from overcoming your emotional issues. So, on my program, we not only look at skills that you can implement today, we also look at what work you need to do on yourself, which is derived from things that have happened in your past, which are determining the way you're responding to things in the present. So it's a fairly deep process where we go back into those old episodic memories and we reconfigure the stories about yourself so that you have a new affirmative understanding of who you are, which takes you forward into your future.
Thank you, Richard. I have so many questions I want to ask, but we need to go to a break. What I'd like to come back in on for both of you is how has EQ and your continuous, I don't want to say mastery, but you're experts in this area. How has it changed your relationships? Because I think that'd be really helpful to people watching and listening, because then they can think to themselves, wow, my relationships could change also. I need to pursue this journey. Does that sound all right?
Wonderful.
Excellent. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Folks, stay with us. We're going to take a commercial break and hear from some of our sponsors, and then we'll be back with the power of etiquette and manners.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and tolls.
Hello and welcome back to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads, and welcome to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show is The Power of Etiquette and Manners. Joining us from the UK is my co-host and friend, Mr. Philip Sykes. He is the principal of the British School of Etiquette. And our special guest joining us from South Africa, Richard Cullinan, is the director at the British School of Etiquette. So, gentlemen, my question before we went to the break was, how has this journey of knowledge, learning, knowledge, and mastery of EQ, how has it changed your relationships? Who wants to start?
I'm going to get
Richard. I'll kick off there. Because that was actually the reason I went on this journey of learning about emotional intelligence and applying the skills and techniques and principles in my own life. So all of us are in relationships where we have struggles. Often those struggles are caused by communication issues. They could be caused by power struggles. They could be caused by money problems. They could be caused by unexpected change, like, for example, the changes that we've experienced in the last year and a half with the pandemic, working remotely, and having the kids at home while you're working. All of these kind of changes impact the fluidity and ease with which we have our relationships with, certainly with the primary people in our lives, like our spouses and our children and our close family. Now, I was having really problems in my personal relationship, with my wife and with my daughter. And the main reason was because I was not in control of my emotions. I would fly off the handle. I would impulsively do things that would upset them. And we would get into arguments and we would get into conflict. And then I realized that possibly one of the biggest reasons or causes of conflict in relationship is the way we give and receive criticism. Now, all of us don't particularly like to be criticized because we don't like to be wrong. However, if we give feedback or criticism in a constructive way, where the other person can see the criticism as a complaint that can be worked on, they're far more likely to listen to what we have to say. So that's actually my first tip in overcoming conflict in relationship, is when you deliver criticism, make sure that it is delivered as a complaint that can be worked on, and stay away from generalizations. We'll often hear couples arguing where one will say, "You never," or "You always." Well, that can't be true, but those generalizations really hurt. Another perspective is to say, rather be kind than try to be right all the time. One of the causes of conflict in relationship is when one person has a position, the other person has a position, and one wants to be right and the other one wants to be right. Rather take a relational position where you are interested and empathetic and curious about the other person's point of view. So the key there is to try and be kind rather than be right. Another thing that I've noticed is couples that argue, and I was certainly, fell inside this this mistake, and that is saying yes, but. You're having an argument, and then one partner will say, yes, but you, yes, but you. And all it does is it perpetuates the argument. So what I've learned to do is instead of saying yes, but, I say and then continue enriching the conversation rather than opposing the other person's point of view. So those are a few tips on how to improve a conflict situation in a relationship. Now, sometimes relationships can get to the point where couples stop arguing. And as Dr. John Gottman says, they enter into a phase of stonewalling in the relationship. They've given up arguing, they've closed up, and they go into almost a passive-aggressive silence. Now, when that happens, it's normally caused by harsh criticism, which becomes contempt, which becomes defensiveness, and finally becomes stonewalling. The good news is, and I was there in my personal relationship, I was at the stonewalling phase. The good news is you can go back, read, study, learn emotional intelligence, learn emotional management, become self-aware and conscious of your thoughts and feelings and how those become your behavior, and start practicing a few of these tips that I've just shared with you, and voila, you can exit what Dr. John Gottman actually calls the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Richard, thank you so much. I am here backstage just thinking, oh my gosh, I love this transparency, because someone could say, oh, he's the director, he doesn't have any issues, his life has been just grand. And just for you to share like that, I think gives people real hope. Philip, what would you like to add in addition?
Well, yeah, and I think you hit a very, very poignant point there, Dr. Jacalyn. And Rich, every time you open your mouth, it just comes from where you really have dug deep into studying this topic. You've implemented it, you've changed people's lives. And Dr. Jacalyn, anyone out there thinks that any person that they look at them has had plain sailing in this world, they need to think again. None of us have had plain sailing. We've all had curveballs thrown at us. And it's through a lot of these curveballs that sometimes we pick our head up and we say, what can I do to make a change? And only we can make that change. No one can abracadabra a wand and a bunny rabbit's going to pop out that hat. Unfortunately, it never happens. And a lot of us, some of you who may be familiar with one of my analogies, is like standing on the top of the hill with your mouth open waiting for a duck to fly in. It's never going to happen. You're going to have to go out there and pursue that duck. And I love animals, but if you want to eat that duck, then you've got to go down the correct journey and route and how to sort of capture that duck and put it in the pot and eat it. At the end of the day, this is what this journey is about. And again, just complementing absolutely wholeheartedly what Richard is sharing. We talk about etiquette and manners, but when we at this organization talk about the power of etiquette and manners, it's actually the power of etiquette, manners, emotional intelligence. That is really what this is, because I've always maintained and truly believe that when you've got incredible understanding of EQ and you understand yourself that much more deeply, it's almost impossible to have bad manners and bad etiquette. And when you think about relationships, think about how manners can smooth relationships. We talk about that here. Etiquette and manners have that ability to put other people at ease. Many years ago, someone said, what is this all about? And I said, well, the first thing it's about is exactly what Richard alluded to, kindness. In a world where we can be anything, be kind. Secondly, it's that ability to put people at ease in a very short space of time. Thirdly, it's having a what can I do for you attitude. How can I support you? How can I help you? And the fourth one is, I truly believe that if we all go out there and do a random act of goodness, a random act of kindness, a random act of thoughtfulness to other people, for other people, we will definitely set the world in a far more dynamic direction. And when you talk about EQ and manners and etiquette, it helps us with those amazing social bonds, which are essential. Our mental and emotional health is key to all of this. When you adopt all of what we're sharing with you, you will absolutely see your life improve in leaps and bounds. And that is the power of etiquette, manners, and emotional intelligence.
Well said. I agree with both of you. And I want to just touch on something that Richard had mentioned before. And I've seen this in my own life. I've seen it with coaching people, is they get into a disagreement, or they're definitely on opposite sides of the fence, so to speak. And there's no manners or etiquette in how they interact with each other. It's almost like the person that they've been with all this time, the person they work with, they have no respect for the person anymore or for themselves. And it's just hard to watch because there's no boundaries. And I think that if we could all learn boundaries of respect when communicating, even if we are at opposite sides, and I like to say, and I'd like you to weigh in on this, I like to say that it's important to ask for permission to share what it is that you want to share when you want to share it. Because let's say, Richard, to your point, when you were not in control of your emotions, maybe you're in an agitated state and I come to you with something that's a sensitive topic and you're in the middle of doing something, maybe you wouldn't have reacted the way that might be productive for us to have this discussion. And yet I'm being disrespectful, just coming to you and just dumping whatever I have because it's when it's convenient for me. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do talk about an open door policy, but there needs to be respect for boundaries, as you mentioned. And for example, if you were to walk into my studio and interrupt me, it is up to me to not overreact and to observe the pause, as we talk about at the British School of Etiquette, before responding. And I might say, to your instant demand for my time, it's how you say it. So I would say to you, Dr. Jacalyn, I'm busy with something right now. Do you think we could have a chat at 12:30 this afternoon? And of course, you're going to say yes. And there we have resolved the situation, and there's been no negative interaction. Another thing I'd like to mention about people in conflict and having different positions. If you look at my two fingers here, you have a person on the right-hand side and a person on the left-hand side. What we've been taught in the West is that generally two sides will fight it out and the best person will win, or the most extroverted or the most dominant will win. And that really doesn't help anyone, because the dominant person has learned nothing from the interaction. The one that has been dominated has also learned nothing from the interaction because they feel demeaned. A far better approach is to have a growth mindset. Have a mindset of learning. Forget about being smart. Being smart is actually looking and learning every single day. And it's almost similar to empathy. When we are empathizing about somebody else's position, we are being smart, we are being curious, we are being interested. We want to learn something from that person. And if you take that kind of approach in discussion, it remains a discussion that's rich, that goes backwards and forwards, that's fun to be involved in. And that is the kind of attitude you want to have in an organization. That's the kind of attitude you want to have in a family situation or in a friendship circle, where everybody is learning from one another. And when you want to learn from one another, criticism is welcome, because it's another opportunity to learn. And so we diffuse conflict.
You're so on point there. And I think when it comes to criticism, you mentioned this earlier, it's how you deliver it. It's the tone, it's the intent behind it. Is it to try to lift the other person up, or are you trying to push them down? Are you trying to say, I know everything, I'm a genius? Or are you trying to say, I see something in you that's really amazing and I want to help support that?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Intention is at the genesis of our thoughts. It all starts with intention. And if your intention is to have good relationships, good discussions, harmonious relationships, you will. That's just the law of attraction, isn't it? Right there.
It certainly is. And I think also when you have EQ and when you do invest the time in yourself and to learn that when someone comes to you and they're hypersensitive or they're agitated, you can even help diffuse that very quickly because you understand where they're coming from and you're not going to engage with them. So I like to think of it in my experience that it's sort of like one person has something to say, they're upset, and then you throw fuel on the fire and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But if you're almost like a brick wall and you just, then slowly it's going to start to diffuse. And I think you're going to be able to have some authentic conversations. What do you think, Philip?
Yeah. Dr. Jacalyn, to all the listeners out there, I've had the privilege of attending your amazing program, which is the power of listening. And when you look at what we're all talking about here, your EQ, your mindset, and your manners, and your etiquette, it all ties in, it all knits together. And by stopping and pausing, Richard alluded to observing the pause, the 6-second rule, giving the other person the opportunity to have their say, to really genuinely connect with the other person, is going to help your relationships hands down. It's going to give you that opportunity to really observe, as you quite rightly said, Dr. Jacalyn, in your course, it's about being present, it's about being mindful, it's about making the effort to really genuinely connect with that individual, showing them that you are fully present for a start. And the other thing that I think is fundamental here, and this is something that Richard really put a point on, was we need to understand how other people like to be dealt with, how people like to be interacted with or connected with. It's so key to how we build better friendships and relationships, because not everyone wants to be treated the same way as you, Dr. Jacalyn, or Philip, or Richard, or anybody out there. That's the old golden rule: do unto others as we wish them to do unto us, or treat people the way you would like them to treat you. But that is a wonderful, it's been around for I don't know how long. It's in all the religious books out there, and I totally get it and I agree with it. But there's that platinum rule: treat other people the way they would like to be treated, then go back to being you. And so there's so many facets and angles that we bring into play here in our lives and how we handle each situation. And someone once said to me, when you are sometimes faced with a situation, there in that situation often lies the challenge or the issue or the problem.
Thank you, Philip. And I love the fact that the British School of Etiquette, it seems like a full service opportunity to change your life around. You've got coaching, it sounds like therapy, you've got key learnings. So when somebody makes a decision that they want to change their life and they want to work with you, how do they go about doing that?
Well, firstly, a little bit of news. We are actually, Dr. Jacalyn, I've shared this with you, whispered in your ear a while back. We are now pivoting the brand name to the British School of Excellence. And under that banner will be so think about it like an octopus. The head of the octopus is the brand name, the British School of Excellence. And then we're going to have the EQ, we're going to have personal development, we're going to have business excellence courses, we're going to have the etiquette angle, we're going to have styling and giving yourself that amazing opportunity to engage on how do I style myself, how do I put my best foot forward from an aesthetics point of view. So it's going to open up some wonderful doors in the very near future. And so at the moment it's obviously the British School of Etiquette.com, and it's just going to pivot to the British School of Etiquette.com. So all the credentials will be identical, telephone numbers, email addresses will just change to Richard at the British School of Excellence, Philip at the British School of Excellence, Hello at the British School of Excellence, and so forth. And the new website will be launching. We've got our finger and we're looking at hopefully during the course of this coming week.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
So we're very
That's
proud.
outstanding. Well, it sounds like you have a robust, comprehensive offering for everyone, from the young to the older. I don't want to say elder or oldest, but that's fantastic. So once you roll out this new website and the British School of Excellence, people can work with you from around the world just like they can today, correct?
100%. And you talk about age, Dr. Jacalyn. One of the oldest, actually the oldest person that walked through the doors here at our organization was 84 years old.
I love that.
Incredible, remarkable woman who looks like she's got many years ahead of her. So she's just loves learning. She wants to take what she's learned through her life, and she's living on the island of Cyprus, and she wants to work with young people. And it's just fascinating to see, people embracing what we have to offer. They genuinely embrace it. And the door, when we open it, it remains open. We want to build friendships and relationships with our students of all age groups.
84 years old. That is fantastic. Let's just give her
an amazing woman. Yeah.
So regardless of what age you are, it's never too late to invest in yourself. And you can do that by working with these gentlemen at the British School of Etiquette, soon to be the British School of Excellence. Richard, it's been a pleasure having you here. You're coming back, which I'm very excited about. And I'm going to spotlight you. If you can just share with our audience, your banner is across the bottom, but people listening on the radio can't see it. So what's the best way for people to reach you, and who should reach out?
The best way to reach me is by email, richard@thebritishschoolofetiquette.com. You can also reach me at richard@thebritishschoolofexcellence.com from next week. I think that's the best way to reach out to me, and I will either call you, we can have a Zoom session to discuss your unique needs before you choose to invest in one of our emotional intelligence or personal development programs. So as Philip said, the door is always open, and we always like to have a discussion before you join one of our group classes. All my group classes are run online on Zoom, and it's really fantastic because we get people from all over the world with different perspectives, and we have this opportunity to leverage multi-frame thinking in the learning space and really get to learn from other students from all around the world.
Thank you, Richard. It's a pleasure meeting you, and I look forward to having you come back and share more, because we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, it's been so wonderful talking to you, Dr. Jacalyn, and thanks so much for inviting me.
Thank you. We'll see you again soon. Bye, Richard.
Bye. Take care.
Take care.
Well, Philip, he was a fantastic guest, and he is just very inspirational. I loved his authenticity, his transparency, sharing what happened to him in real life and how his life has changed as a result of his journey with emotional intelligence and becoming an expert. So thank you for asking him here today.
Dr. Jacalyn, it's an absolute pleasure as always. And again, I think this is all about bringing incredible individuals who've got life experience, who can help other people. We can teach, and we can really give people the tools. And it's the tools we talk about, but it's everyone's got this big door with a lock on it, and it's just finding the correct key that fits that lock and helping him open that door for people to then, take flight for going forward with their lives. And this is what this is really all about at the end of the day.
Yes, it is, Philip. And I'm going to spotlight you, and I'd love for you to share with our audience, what can they expect in future shows?
Super. Wonderful. Great question. So in future shows, as we all know, we are now in the fourth industrial revolution. And here at the British School of Etiquette, jobs that exist now are going to change significantly. We're moved, and we have already moved into the artificial intelligence world. But the beautiful thing about what we here at the organization deliver and offer is that absolute quintessential key to personal skills, to building friendships, building relationships. And whether we like it or not, everything is built on trust. Everything's built on the way you treat other people. Maya Angelou, which I often have on my board behind me, is, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And this is the human touch. So going forward here at our organization, we talk about emotional intelligence, we talk about the power of etiquette and manners, we talk about something which I love incorporating. Is many years ago we wrote a program for a well-respected bank called Hospitality in Banking. So bringing hospitality, etiquette and manners into the fold, and how you can build yourself, you as your own brand, your organization as a brand, you, and help other people that surround you. So, moving through this sort of, I suppose, the thread that brings this all together to make us that much more dynamic as a human being, that much more sort of giving to other people, that much more sort of, I suppose, present, and how we need to also understand that, etiquette and manners is not about the hot potato in the mouth, as a lot of people like to allude to here in the UK, or the knife and fork. Yes, it is about the knife and fork, and maybe we will have an opportunity to do a dining etiquette module through Dr. Jacalyn's channel here, through the TV network. But there's so many interesting things that we can deliver and bring to the party. So if there's anyone out there listening and you want any guidance or steering or any suggestions, please do share them with Dr. Jacalyn, and we would love the opportunity to accommodate and incorporate that into one of the shows.
Thank you, Philip. I love the fact that you really clarified that it's not just about the knife and fork. It's not about, hello, how do you do? There's so much more that's involved. And I think there's so much content. We could probably run a show every day if we wanted to.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
And Philip, for people who want to reach out to you and get in touch with you before the name change, what is the best way for them to do that?
Certainly. So all of you out there, please do reach out. And as Richard quite rightly said, we love conversations, and we are here to genuinely support you and help you. So hello@thebritishschoolofetiquette.com. If you want to change the hello with Philip with one L, PHILIP, at thebritishschoolofetiquette.com. Reach out to us. We through our website, thebritishschoolofetiquette.com, you can access all our social media channels. We've got some great content on our YouTube channel, and we've got a fantastic team behind the Insta and Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. So I do hope that you will engage at your convenience, and I really look forward to helping and supporting whoever there is out there who would like that opportunity.
Thank you so much. And for folks who watch the show not live, if you're watching it on the replay, just go ahead and either reach out to me or reach out to Phil with any questions that you have. We'd love to read your questions on the air for the next show. So we appreciate you whether you're watching live or on the replay. Thank you so much, Philip, for being here again. And I'd love if you and Richard could just stay around backstage for a minute or two.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn.
Thank you so much. We have a great day of broadcasting. As you just saw, this is a brand new show with so much incredible knowledge, and we're just thrilled and honored to be able to present it to you. So thank you, Philip, and thank you, Richard. Our other shows for today include Fashion, Fitness, Travel, and Leisure. That is at noon Eastern Time or 5 British Summer Time. And then we have another brand new show, The United Kitchens, which is at 1 p.m. Eastern or 6 p.m. British Summer Time. This is amazing because we have a chef, and she is in Texas, and we have a chef who is in Scotland, and they are warming up their knives. They're turning that oven on. They're getting ready to dazzle us. Ricky McKenna and Simon McDonald. We are so thrilled that they're here today. Also, we have stories of hope, inspiration, overcoming adversity with Linda Hughes. And then we end our day with Pet Psychic Amina. It's always a great show, very informative. And our guest today is Carla Francis. So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you. We hope that you are really engaging with our programming. And if you have any ideas for a show, go ahead and reach out. You can always go to my website, drjacalyn.com. Thank you again for being here. We'll see you soon.